Hello, I'm Sheila Martel, and I'd like to welcome you to Dreams and Dollars, where we talk about dreams that do come true. Our guest today is Donna Dettling, owner and professional organizer at Simpler Life Solutions. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you, Sheila. I'm glad to be here.
Lovely to see you. The first question I always ask our guests on Dreams and Dollars is exactly that. How are they combining their dreams with their dollars, meaning their passion and their prosperity? How do you put those together in your life?
Well, what happened for me is I've hit a point of several transitions going on in my life at one time. And it was a time when I finally decided that I did want to proceed with a lifelong dream of having my own business. And things fell into place that looked like it would let me do that. And so I assessed, my skill set. I left a corporate job as an accountant, and I decided to kind of reinvent myself and take on something totally new that really combined my skills and things I'd learned all along the way in my life.
Have you always been an organized person? That would be the first thing I would wonder.
Yes, I've
Really?
always been organized and the detail person. So
The detail.
part of what I realized is I always handled the details no matter what, in my family, at church, at work. I was always the one that had the lists and the A to Z all laid out, and the one that kind of followed back through and made sure everything happened that needed to happen.
I think that would serve you well as an accountant.
It did.
And then how does that serve you well as an organizer?
Well, what I can do as an organizer is really take a look at the big picture, but then break it down into all the finer chunks that you need to be able to do to get somebody moving along on the process. So I have to not only have a vision of where we want to go, but I have to have a way to get there. And so that's where the detail comes in, because I can kind of lay it out for them. These are the steps we need to take. We need to break it into smaller pieces so it'll be easier for the client to handle. And then circle back with them and make sure that all these things are happening so that everything comes into place the way we'd like to see it.
Excellent. Why would somebody hire a personal organizer? Are you like a personal organizer, a business organizer? What does that mean, professional organizer?
Well, it means that I have some education and I have the background to help somebody get to a better place in their either life, home, or business. So I do a little of all of those, primarily residential organizing. So for the most part, I go into people's homes and help them with whatever it is that's gotten out of control there. Very often it is their home office. I do a lot of offices in homes especially, but also small offices, small business offices. So it can be anything from, drawers and cupboards to offices, to rooms, to whole houses. If somebody's maybe moving and getting ready to have their house put on the market, they need to really declutter. They need to get rid of possessions and get things shipshape so that it will sell easily and well. It might be helping seniors that are downsizing and have to really go through all their things and get ready for a life in a much smaller environment than they've been used to.
So people are going through maybe different life changes when you come into their lives?
Often they are. In fact, much more, I think, than I ever expected when I got into this. I think my initial vision was I was seeing seniors, because I'd been dealing with my parents in their declining health years. I saw how they lived and how other people that lived in the community where they were, a retirement community, struggled with just not being able to handle things on their own anymore. And when it was time to move, perhaps they didn't have the support of local children that could really help get them through this process. But I also was seeing at work that most of the women in particular that I knew, that I worked with, or that I knew in other aspects of my life, were all struggling too. There's so much on all of our plates now, and often something has to go by the wayside. So what I found is it's usually either keeping the house clean or keeping it organized, and that's something that is just easy to put off. It's easy to say, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it over the weekend, and things can just really pile up.
Quickly.
Yep.
How does it start? How would you say, like, I know you don't know maybe exactly, but how would you say the process of getting disorganized, how does that start?
Well, it comes about different ways. There are some people that just struggle with organization. They don't have that ability
Sort of gene.
naturally. Yes, exactly. In fact, I have a lot of people tell me when I come in, I think I was not born with the organizing gene. Sometimes they have attention deficit or some other issue like that that really is a real concern that really does inhibit them from being able to just function like what we would say a normal person would be able to do. They just can't do it the same way. They need special tools. So sometimes that happens. But what I'm seeing more now than what I anticipated is a lot of people that are struggling because of life events that have happened to them. I'm working with a lot of people who have lost spouses or someone else close to them, who have gone through divorce, changed jobs, or just something big in their life, illnesses and so forth, that just really took them out of their normal routine. And so something, started going off base for them, and they just didn't have the time to, go home and file their papers or put their things away. So they started getting a little sloppier with it. And over time, if you're used to seeing piles on the floor or piles on the table, it becomes easy to just continue that, and that becomes your natural thing, and you just sort of turn the other cheek to it.
When you're dealing with your clients, is it primarily, is it stuff? Is it paper? Is it when someone has things on their surface, what things are there? Are they towels? What are they? I can't imagine.
Well, it can be a little of everything. Paper is huge, though.
Paper's huge.
In this time where we think of ourselves as being almost a paperless society, we are far from that. People get deluged every day with mail, with magazines, with newspapers, with just things that they might have dealt with, and then they don't know where to file it, or they don't have a filing system, or they don't have the proper storage. So again, they start making piles instead of files. But
wow, that's cute.
Yeah. Stuff, though, all kinds of stuff. Possessions. We love our things, and we collect them over the years. There are some people that are religious about just tossing things. They don't connect as much to their stuff. But many people, they're either sentimental, or they want control, and they somehow see that through their things. They think they want to live a certain lifestyle, and that might, encompass having a lot of things around them. So it happens, it can be very different, but often it's just, when you first walk into some of these homes, you might look at it and think it's just junk, but it's these people's things that are very important to them. But paperwork is huge, and just usually just stuff that never got thrown away, that just keeps coming into the house.
Stuff just keeps coming in.
Yep. So it comes in much faster than it goes out. And if you kind of think about your day, we bring in groceries, we go shopping, and we bring in new purchases, we bring in bags, and boxes come in the mail comes every day. The kids bring home artwork and papers, and it's just constantly coming in. And if you don't get rid of it at the same rate, then it just starts stacking up. And a typical thing people say is, maybe I think I need to move. We need a bigger house, because you feel like you need to have a place to put all this stuff, when really what you need is to get rid of some of that stuff, to free yourself from being bound by all that weight of that stuff.
What can you do for a client, as an organizer, that they can't do for themselves?
Well,
do they resist your suggestions? How does that work?
Sometimes they do resist, but usually why they call me is because they've gotten to a point where they are not functioning well anymore, and they know it's impacting their life. They're maybe late paying all their bills because they can't find them. They didn't get their tax return done on time because they didn't know where all the papers were, and they just couldn't even get themselves motivated to find them. Often people are not focused anymore, and they know that they're losing control. They can't come home and accomplish what might be a simple task, because things are scattered, or they're all over the place, and they don't have room in their life anymore to focus. So there's a lot of different things that start happening, and as each of those things happen, you feel like your life is coming unglued, kind of. You start feeling like you don't have control anymore. So what I can do is really come in and help them get back that focus, and get back the ability to exist in a way that it should be, to function in their home and in their life in the way that they need to be able to. They need to be able to be effective and efficient. They need to be able to find what they need to find to get out the door, so they can show up to work feeling fresh and ready to go, instead of feeling frazzled. So usually it's somebody that's lost control.
Lost control.
Yeah, and they're starting to feel...
Get rebalanced, would you say that?
Definitely. It's not even just balance, but it's actually getting to a better place in their life, getting to where they can see that they have too much in the way. They can't move forward because they've got too much stuff pulling them back. Our stuff, our clutter, our possessions can really be heavy weight dragging us down. And if it's something that we've been accumulating over the years, it can be huge, and it's a very weighty burden to always be carrying around, because we have to move it to clean, we have to move it if we're transitioning, if somebody's coming over and we want the house to look better, we have to shuffle it around. So it's all these kind of games almost that we're playing with all this stuff. If we were just freer of it, freed from having so much of it, we would just be able to really enjoy our lives, enjoy our space.
You're hoping to help clients enjoy their space more, obviously.
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the things I love doing the most is when I walk into a home and you can tell that it's not functioning, and often this is one of their complaints, we don't eat at the kitchen table anymore because the table becomes a place we pile things. I can't work in my office anymore because my desk is so cluttered. I'm sitting at the kitchen counter with my laptop instead of sitting in this big office that I have.
Wow.
So things like that are happening, and when I can walk in and not only help them be able to get back to those places that they remember when they could use the rooms right, I can often help them in other ways to just enjoy the space. To what I see a lot now is people have businesses often that they're doing at home, or they're working from home, and so what's happening is you're getting this mingling of work and home, and so at some point there's no clear boundary anymore, and it feels like work is kind of taking over your life. Well, I can help, draw those boundaries again, have work be in one area and home be in a different area, so you can separate them. You can get into the evening and transition to your personal life instead of business.
So it's really far beyond organizing what you're doing. Definitely.
It really touches on a lot of aspects of life. Yes.
Please stay tuned. We'll be right back after this public service announcement.
My name is Fernanda. I'm the wife of a teacher. Budget cuts affected my husband's salary, so I'm picking up some part-time work. We're doing everything we can to make sure our kids eat today. Tomorrow, I just don't know. Fernanda, how'd I do?
Well, I usually fold the underwear first.
I meant the acting, but good to know.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
"7,000 high school students drop out every school day. That's a line of desks more than 4 miles long. We can keep students in school. Visit boostup.org and take the first step.
Hello? Hello? I've been on the street for a while. I saw your poster outside. I don't know what to do.
National Runaway Switchboard, how can I help? Call 1-800-RUNAWAY to make the connection.
Welcome back to Dreams and Dollars and our guest, Donna Dettling. Donna's website is www.simplerlifesolutions.com. If someone wanted to hire you as a organizer, someone wanted to find out more about the process, how does that work?
Well, usually they start by finding me through telephone or by email. If we exchange emails, I still like to talk to somebody on the phone. You get a much better sense of someone verbally than you do over just an email exchange usually.
Okay.
But we'll take a little bit of time to talk by phone. You know, I try to do a short assessment of what their needs are, ask some questions, and explain, you know, my typical way of working, which is usually I do like to go out and do an initial assessment with them first. It really helps us to get to meet each other and get to decide whether we're a fit or not, because organizing can be very personal. I'm seeing the nitty-gritty of their lives, and often it's embarrassing for them. It's difficult for them to let somebody in. By the time they've called me, you know, life for them is very chaotic, and they're overwhelmed, and they're just embarrassed sometimes by what they're going to show me. And so I have to establish a really good rapport with them and help them feel at ease and feel comfortable with me. And once in a while, you know, maybe it might not be quite as good of a fit. So it does definitely pay to meet them face to face. So what I'll have them do when I go over is we'll just walk through the areas that they are concerned about. It might be the whole house, it might be just certain rooms. Sometimes it's just an office. But I'll ask questions. I'll try to assess a little bit about what is their priority? What do they really need to see happen the fastest? Some jobs are small, but some are quite overwhelming. It might be the majority of the house that's really kind of buried in stuff. And so we need to decide where would we start. And it's really important that we're on the same page with that. So I would never come in and just say, this is what we have to do and lay it all out for them. I really want to make them a part of the process. It gives accountability and it helps them learn, because as we talk and go do the actual work, I'm giving them tips and I'm helping them understand ways that they might be able to do things better to keep them out of this trouble in the future. So I will be there anywhere from a half hour to an hour usually, taking notes. I'll take pictures so I have something to look at once I get home, and also just, you know, to show them afterwards if we do work together. This is where you started and this is where you ended, because sometimes you forget, or if things start to get back to where they were again, they can take these pictures out and remind themselves they don't want to go back to that place. So once I've established their trust, you know, I kind of talk about how I work, you know, I talk about rates and so forth, and usually I can get a pretty good sense right away, and they can too, of whether we would be a good match and whether they're ready to go ahead with things. So if they are, I follow up with an email, kind of list the things that I think is what we, you know, decided would be the best way to work. And if they're ready, we go ahead and set some appointments and get started.
I wonder, have you had instances where you start working with somebody, maybe the first, I don't want to say the first date, but the first time, and then they get cold feet? Like it's just like, whoa, I really can't do this.
Yeah, that definitely happens. Some people are, where I find this happens the most is people that are especially attached to their stuff. They know they need to pare down and get rid of things, and maybe they feel like they're ready, but then they're really not. One example is I just had an elderly gentleman recently who had already transitioned with his wife to a retirement community. So they had come from a fairly large house to this much smaller apartment. They'd already done the true downsizing process once, but when he called me, what he said is, well, I have 4 storage units where that are full of boxes of papers.
Okay.
So really what he had done is pretty much, it felt like all the papers of his life. He had basically 2 careers, as well as personal papers, genealogy information, all kinds of things, but everything was boxed and in these units. And he admitted to me that he'd been paying for one of these units for over 20 years, and the other two of the others for quite some time, and then one was more recent. So he knew he needed to get rid of stuff. He was in his 80s. He was getting, you know, more tired, less able to do this. So we started the process, and I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I was so excited to help him. But we did 2 sessions together, started, you know, getting rid of some things. I'm always very open to, you know, talking to them, not taking over the process, letting them, you know, help steer things and so forth. But he called me after 2 and he said, you know, this is just moving too fast. I thought I was ready, but I'm not ready to do it. And you know, then he had kind of in his own mind come up with this new scenario of how he thought he was going to approach it on his own, or maybe with, you know, somebody else helping him on a much less formal way. And there wasn't anything I really could do other than offer that, you know, I'm still here if you need me and so forth. But
that sounds like it had nothing to do with you, ultimately.
Right. I don't think it was really me, because I could tell that, you know, throughout the process, the time we did work together, he was, you know, he kept wanting to talk about it, not really do it. Every time I'd go over, and he'd be like, okay, well, I thought about this a lot, and, you know, and he'd have a list, or he'd have, you know, here's how I want to do it. And he kept doing more talking than actual doing. And, you know, you do have to nudge people. I can't just sit back and let them run the show, or we might not ever get to an end result. So I have to be very gentle, but do, you know, push people a little bit. And I was being extremely gentle with him, I think, but it was just not something he really, I think he tied his life worth to all of this paper. And that's something I see quite frequently, I think, is that people, they see their accomplishments, their lives in all this stuff, and they can't let go of it. They feel like they're going to let go of somehow of themselves when they do.
So their identity is tied in.
Very much so sometimes. But sometimes if you help talk them through it, they realize, well, this is silly. You know, all these magazines and these books and these, you know, these things don't define me. They might, you know, be a part of my...
Or enhance my experience.
Right, exactly. And maybe they did at one time. But if you just have, honestly, if you have things just boxed up, collecting dust in the basement or piled so that you can't even see them, what is that adding to your life? Nothing. You know, it's either we get these things out. If you love them, let's find a way to display them and honor them, and, you know, make them out front in your life so that you can see them, other people can see them, or transition them now to children or somebody else that might want them, rather than waiting, you know, to down the road when, you know, that person has passed away. Or let's just let go of them. Let's donate them and let somebody else use some of this stuff so that you can be free to live your life today instead of holding on to all this stuff from the past.
That would be my next question. What are the benefits of working with an organizer?
Well,
I mean, I'm sure there are many.
Oh, of course. A lot of it is just getting the name of my business is Simpler Life Solutions. So what I like to portray to people, and what my logo and my website, it's all about, it's just a feel of, you know.
Like space.
Exactly. My picture on the front of my website is an ocean view, and to me it's very peaceful and calming, and that's what I want people to feel, that you can live in your space. It can be calm, it can enhance your life rather than detract from your life. It can allow you to focus on whatever you need to focus, if it's your family, if it's a business. You can enjoy those spaces. You can have people come over instead of always feeling like you're embarrassed to invite somebody in. There's just so much you can do when you have room to breathe and to enjoy, you know, your rooms for what they're meant for.
Do you have a success story? Do you have a client you work with that you're proud of, or that you reflect fondly on, and that was maybe able to keep the system going? Do you know of anyone like that?
Well, I think one of the ones I enjoyed the most was a woman who has her own business, and she's operating in a pretty small space in a one-bedroom apartment. So all her work is centered in her home. She was one of these cases where things had mingled together so much she couldn't see a line between personal and business. But she didn't realize that.
Oh.
And the first thing I saw when I walked in her apartment was there was no delineation. The kitchen table was kind of shoved into where she had her desk and her other space and her, you know, files and so forth. The personal space was kind of cluttered, and among the personal space there were business books, and there were photos and piles of things from her business, because she has sort of props, so to speak, or, you know, different things she takes with her to the type of work that she does. So this was just all kind of intermingled, and I think she didn't understand why she never felt like she could just relax in her place. So a lot of it was just, there was no real personal place anymore. Everything turned into part personal, part business. You know, sometimes it's just as simple as the business phone is in the personal space, so you don't have any time that's just your own, that business just seeps into everything. So what we did for her is not only sort of rearranging her office space so that it was a little more off to the side, so to speak, from the other things. We just did some very simple things. We turned some bookcases, and we moved business books out of the personal area and personal books out of the business area, and really created that business space all to the side. And by doing that, it really opened up her her own space, so that we got that to where it just felt good. It was warm and it was inviting, and you could see that there was business stuff going on, but it was all off to the side. And she just was thrilled. We set some files up for her, so she said, you know, this is the first time I've ever been able to really sit here, do business, and focus on the business, and then when I want to come home and entertain, I can just, you know, visually set that to the side, and I'm in the space. People can come in, they can sit, you know, and it's separate. So, and
she was able to see the benefit.
She was, and she's had me come back and do some more work in her
tweaks.
bedroom and help her just come up with some new ideas. We don't always get everything done the first time through.
So sometimes it takes a few appointments to get it
all done. It does, and that's something I enjoy. I always offer that. I'll be glad to come back and do maintenance, you know, if you need me monthly, quarterly, whatever it is.
It seems like you really care about your clients, do you?
I love them. This is what I feel like I'm made to do, is this one-on-one interactions. They're personal, they're intimate. I'm almost a counselor as well as a organizer.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you, Donna, for this touching interview where we learned about how organizing and caring are really connected to each other. Thank you for joining us on Dreams and Dollars. I am your producer and host, Sheila Martel. Please tune in next time for another inspiring episode of Dreams and Dollars.